We've talked about the Catalina 350 before, but I think this boat deserves another look, especially right now, because the 32 to 38 foot cruising market is where the feeding frenzy is happening this year. These are the boats big enough for you to go cruising on, small enough to manage, and just affordable enough to make otherwise responsible adults start doing boat math. And this one brings up a dangerous question. Is the Catalina 350 maybe the best 35-foot sailboat ever made? Now, I don't mean the fastest and I don't mean the toughest, not the prettiest, but for the way most people actually sail and cruise and sleep and cook and dock and maintain and pay for boats, this thing might be one of the most intelligent 35-footers you can buy right now. So let's get the argument straight right out of the gate. This boat is not the best 35-foot sailboat if you judge a boat by one extreme or another. It's not the strongest offshore passage maker like something from Halberg Razzie. It's also not going to make your J-boat friends stop and take any notes. But that's not how most people use a 35-foot sailboat. Most buyers in this range are actually looking for something that they can afford, that they maybe can dock by themselves, they can maintain, they can sleep on it, cook, shower, and sail it as a couple without needing a deckhand and a divorce lawyer. By that standard, this boat makes a very serious case for itself. This is not a boat that wins by being extreme. It's a boat that wins by being useful. And usefulness is underrated. This is the highly sought after and wildly difficult to buy because it sells so fast Catalina 350. And this was an all-new boat made just for us cruisers, not some sort of copy. It wasn't simply a stretched Catalina 34, and it wasn't a shortened 36. When Gerry Douglas designed this boat, Catalina was aiming at something specific. A 35-footer built around how a cruising couple or a small family actually uses a boat. And that shows up immediately in the proportions. The beam is just under 13 feet, and that 13 feet is carried well aft. And that's the central fact of the Catalina 350. It gives the boat a cockpit, an interior volume, and initial stability, but it also comes with compromises. Bob Perry pointed out this when this boat was new. The beam gives a boat a stiffness and a sail-carrying power, but with the shoal wing keel, there's going to be a performance trade-off compared to the deeper fin. That's the 350 in one sentence. Bob nailed it. It's a spacious, stable, easy cruising boat, not a narrow performance boat wearing cruising cushions. Looking at the boat on the hard, the wing keel is part of the appeal, of course. The fin draws 6'8", while the wing is just 4'6". For the Chesapeake or Florida, Gulf Coast, Bahamas, Georgian Bay, and any shallow anchorage anywhere in the world, that matters. The trade-off that Bob's talking about, though, is pointing ability and windward bite. If you want the better sailing version, you have to buy the deep keel. If you want the more versatile version, the wing makes sense. The rig is a masthead sloop with fore and aft lowers and a split backstay, which opens up access to the swim platform. The main sheet is mid-boom, which is not everyone's favorite arrangement from a loads and efficiency standpoint, but it keeps the cockpit clear and makes room for a dodger. That's a reoccurring theme on this boat. Catalina keeps choosing comfort and access and ease of use over sailing purity. The side decks are wide, partly because of that beam. The Genoa tracks and chain plates are kept well inboard, so moving forward is easier and you get higher sheeting angles. The decks are molded non-skid rather than fancy teak, and there's very little exterior wood to maintain at all. This is not romantic, but it's correct. A boat like this is supposed to be used, not varnished into submission. At the bow, the 350 has a divided anchor locker, bow rollers, and a windlass arrangement suitable for actual cruising. A Schaefer roller furler was standard, and on this boat we also get in-mast furling for the main. That means the sail plan is built around easy handling. This is not a boat asking for a large crew, it's asking for two people who want to go sailing without turning every reef into a deck operation. Under sail, the 350 is better than the shape might suggest. This isn't a performance boat, of course, and it shouldn't be judged as one. It's just a beamy cruising boat with a shoal wing keel, and it's not going to point like a deep fin performer. It's also not trying to do that. But the 350 does have enough sail area to move respectfully. With the main and the 135 Genoa, the sail area is about 731 square feet. In a moderate breeze, the boat has a stable, big boat feel, tacks cleanly through angles, and carries herself better than you might expect from something with this much accommodation volume. The helm is also a pleasant surprise. Large rudder that gives the boat good control, and the balance is better than the broad stern and beamy helm might lead you to expect. That's an important thing because carrying beam aft can create steering problems if the rudder and hull balance are wrong, but this boat was designed properly. On the 350, Catalina managed to add volume without completely dulling the sailing experience. But let's not oversell it. This shoal wing keel is a compromise. It's not going to beat as effectively as the fin keel, and it likely will want to be reefed earlier when the breeze pipes up. Bob Perry made that point clearly. The boat has the stability and comfort benefits of the beam, but the keel choice matters a lot. So the honest review is this: the Catalina 350 sails better than a boat with this much interior volume has any right to, but it's still a beamy cruising boat with a shoal keel. Sail it like one and it'll make sense. Under power, the 350 is also well matched. It comes with a universal M35B diesel, which is 35 horsepower, which is a sensible engine for this displacement and purpose. Gives the boat enough power for docking, current, motoring through comms, and the normal cruising reality of using the engine when sailing stops being efficient. This boat is not trying to be a motor sailor, but it does need to maneuver well in marinas, especially because it's aimed at couples with smaller crews. Docking behavior matters. A cruising boat that makes every arrival feel like a public exam is not going to get used as much as it should. From the back of the boat, the cockpit explains a lot of this boat's popularity. The cockpit is 8'6" along the center line. The seats are long enough to stretch out on. The backrests are high enough to matter and be comfortable. And Catalina included stern rail seats, a folding cockpit table, a walk-through transom, a swim platform, and a boarding ladder. This is not a race cockpit, it is a cruising cockpit. The pedestal carries the instruments, engine controls, compass, navigation electronics. Having the throttle and shifter higher and closer to the helm is a real advantage when docking because you're not reaching down to your ankles at the exact moment that the boat's trying to embarrass you. There are compromises though. The pedestal is bulky, the cockpit table takes up space, the mid-boom sheet is not a performance sailor's dream, but on this boat those choices are consistent. The 350 is designed around comfort, access, and short-handed use. Now we go below, and this is where the Catalina 350 stops being merely interesting and starts making a lot of sense. The companionway steps are more civilized than a steep ladder, and they're easier to use when the boat's heeled. That detail matters because this is a boat meant for people who are actually going to live aboard for weekends and short cruises, not just admire the layout at a boat show. The interior is bright with white headliners, varnished teak trim, solid teak cabinetry, and teak veneer bulkheads. Bob Perry had a great line about this. He said that if you want the old boat smell of diesel and wet wool, cordage, and bacon, this interior is not for you. And he was right. The 350 is modern and clean and bright and comfort focused. It was designed for two-couple cruising or a couple with a child or two children, not for packing every horizontal surface with berths. This is one of the smartest parts about the design. Catalina didn't want to try to cram 3 cabins or 2 heads into 35 feet. The 350 is a 2-cabin, 1-head boat, and that's the correct answer here. There may technically be enough volume to chop the boat into more compartments, but doing that would only create smaller spaces that mostly become storage anyway. To starboard, the galley is a proper U-shaped working galley. It has double sinks, usable counter space, fiddles, storage, 2-burner stove with oven, and a divided refrigerator and freezer with both front and top access. That's not marketing fluff. The galley is one of the places where the Catalina 350 separates itself from older, narrower 35-footers. It gives you the feeling of a large cruising boat without actually buying a larger cruising boat. The saloon follows the same idea. It's open, bright, and built around usable space rather than extra berths. There's a practical dining area, good seating, and a nav station tucked efficiently outboard near the port settee with the breaker panel and space for electronics nearby. This is not a grand offshore chart table area from another era, but for the way most people navigate now, it's a sensible use of space. Forward, the owner's cabin is one of the reasons this boat sells so well. The berth is large, the cabin volume is generous, and the headroom is excellent. The boat was designed with about 6'8" or 6'9" of headroom, depending on how it's measured, and the Catalina achieved that by lowering the cabin sole rather than simply raising the cabin top into a wedding cake. There's a trade-off there. Lowering the sole gives you standing headroom and keeps the cabin profile reasonable, but it also means that the bilge is shallower than you'd find on some older traditional cruisers. That's worth knowing. You get the comfort in the headroom, but you don't get a deep sump. Aft, the second cabin is large enough to be genuinely useful. It gives the boat flexibility for guests and kids and storage, or a second couple for short cruising. This is part of why the boat works so well as a family cruiser or a couple's boat. It gives you usable private spaces without turning the layout into a maze. The head is another major part of the package. Catalina gave the 350 a large head with separate shower arrangement, which was one of the boat's headline comfort features when it was new. Again, this is where the boat's mission is obvious. It's not trying to win a styling award for being slender. It's trying to give you 35-foot buyers the amenities that you'd normally associate with a 40-foot boat. So what's the final read on this thing? The 350 is a volume-first cruising boat that still sails respectfully. That's the whole story. It's beamy, roomy, comfortable, and easy to handle. It gives up some performance with the shorter keel and that mid-boom sheeting, big pedestal, shallow bilge, and comfort-first layout, but they're part of the equation. But none of those choices are accidental. Catalina knew exactly what this boat was supposed to be. It was supposed to be a 35-footer for people who actually wanted to cruise comfortably without stepping into a much bigger boat. And by that standard, it works. The 350 will not satisfy the sailor who wants the toughest offshore passage maker or the fastest or some more traditional catch rig. But for a couple with a small family looking for a used cruising boat with space, shallow draft, simple maintenance, good parts support, comfortable accommodation, an owner's group that's still active, this 350 remains one of the most compelling 35-footers on the market. So now I want to know what you guys think. If this is not one of the best real-world 35-foot cruisers, what is? What beats it? Not the most expensive, not the heaviest offshore tank, and not the fastest J-boat. The boat sailors actually use and maintain and afford and enjoy. Put your answers in the comments. And while you're here, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It really helps us out, but also it lets YouTube know that you like sailboat videos, so it'll show you more of them. How cool is that? And hit subscribe so we can see you again next time.